Welcome back. Foster parents have many rules, and now there is yet another. Washington County will be the first county in Maryland to require foster parents to have trauma training. Forrest, what do you think all this means as we move forward?
Well, an interesting topic. My parents actually took in foster children and had 50 of them come through my house while I was growing up, and now I actually have 5 adopted brothers and sisters. I personally don't believe that there's enough training offered to foster parents, but ultimately I think the biggest issue is that they're not compensated enough. We don't compensate people that actually give up their lives to raise other people's children and to deal with some of the challenges that they bring into the house.
And you bring a unique perspective because you work in the social services arena. So you see a lot of different things as your real job. I mean, you could probably speak to this better than anyone.
Well, I can, and like I said, living actually in a foster home. I was the only child, but I lived in a foster home, and you never could predict who was going to be there when you got home from school. But I remember growing up, my parents never received training. My parents weren't college graduates. They learned as you went, and there was a lot of issues and challenges that the children brought that they weren't equipped to deal with. But they learned through the process.
I mean, they are coming out of usually a broken home of some sort, and there is trauma already in their lives. And so, I think this is one of the things that Maryland has instituted. I can honestly say I think it's a good thing.
But isn't parenting by definition an on-the-job training kind of thing?
Well, there's books, man. Spock wrote one. Didn't you read that?
But okay, so and I'm sure there's resource material on not that Spock.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's resource material on trauma training and all of the other stuff. The question becomes, should it be required? Should it be required?
I think it should be required.
And
I really do.
Okay, so should it be required for the parents that are having a kid?
No.
Why not?
Well, because hopefully
We don't care if their kids have trauma?
Well, we kind of hope that in that family where you have a 2-parent system, that there isn't trauma that happens. That we're talking about kids who are coming out of a broken home where some traumatic experience has already happened. We're not talking about children who have 2 loving parents who look out for them every second of the day.
Well, statistically speaking, the 2 loving parents doesn't exist anymore in today's society.
Well, and that's unfortunate, and that's part of the problem.
It is, but I would go back that there's a difference between learning to raise your own children and then taking a broken child into your home and trying to make the best person out of them.
I mean, there was a lot of trauma in my childhood. I caused it all, but there was a lot of trauma.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
I don't know. I'm just joking, Mom. Just joking.
And there's certainly a massive difference in terms of society's and government's interest in foster homes and in the homes of natural parents in any case.
And I think at times that, I think some foster parents probably just need that additional training just to be able to, if you take in a child that has ADD, or you're taking a child that has some kind of a
Special needs.
special need. Thank you. Then the foster parent needs to be able to understand how to cope with that on a constant basis. Because that's a constant.
Yeah, when I went through my midlife crisis many, many years ago, I became a special ed teacher in Texas, and I did that for 5 years. And I had more conferences with social workers and foster parents, because almost invariably all my special ed kids, both when I had elementary and behavioral units in high schools, they were all in foster homes, every single one of them. I had more conferences with social workers and with foster parents you can count. And those conferences really seemed to help the foster parents who come to me later and say they really needed those conferences with the special ed people, with the social workers, and all those people present. And foster parents there at least received a fair amount of training.
I mean, it is tough enough raising kids in a 2-parent home, just in a normal 2-parent home where there's not a lot of trauma and stuff. I mean, can you imagine trying to, bring in like Forrest's parents did, bring in a child that may have special needs, and then, and trying to deal with that, and you've already laid the groundwork,
So Washington
For your own
County,
kid.
Washington County's first on that. What do you guys think about that? I mean, that to me, that shows us.
We're progressive, I hope. I hope it shows that we're progressive and that we're not
Wow.
number one in some other category.
But we're going to talk about that later, maybe.
I think it's great, and again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think that the compensation is what's missing, and I think when you increase compensation, then you can increase demands on the families that are taking these children in. It's a much better investment taking in a foster child and raising them the correct way, as opposed to leaving them in a broken home or having substandard foster care, and then they end up in the
another
juvenile
system. Yeah,
or the
exactly.
prison system or an institution that is thousands upon thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think this is a plus for Washington County. I think that it can only help us a lot, in this county.
Well, I think we'll let you have the last word on that.
Oh, see, Jim?
Stay
Again.
tuned because the military glass ceiling has finally been broken. We'll discuss women in combat when we come back.